My number one business secret, if I could tell you like my secret, it would be,
Jared, what's going on, dude?
hey, what's up?
How's it going? Who do we got here? We got somebody here, don't we?
Dude, we got the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Tyler Williams, owner of Mammoth Marketing, here with us. How you doing, Tyler?
I built my own legend. I paid for that. I work in marketing. I make my legend. That's the difference.
I mean, take it from here, folks. Make your legend in marketing. That's where it starts.
You're a legend in my mind.
I don't know why, because I've always been in reality in your life.
Yeah. So. Well, I mean, like without you, my business wouldn't be what it is today. That's for sure. Right.
I mean, yes, I will agree with you. As humble as that sounds, I don't know. Like you would have figured it out, but
I would have figured it out. But I feel like I had a really good hand up there. I got lucky, right? I always think like these people when they start their plumbing business and they get to success. Yes, there's hard work. Yes, there's smart moves. Yes, there's lessons to be learned, but then I always think there's a little bit of luck in there as well.
Sure.
I mean, there is the difference with you versus a lot of people is you had years of priming before you really like got into it, right? So, because you saw me working in the industry of marketing, so it was just like, okay, this is what needs to happen. And honestly, to be frank, from my perspective, like you let me do things that other people were scared to do.
Right.
And that makes a big difference as well. Anytime I've had a client who's like, well, what do you think we should do? And then I pitch something that I think will work and it might be a little bit out there. If they have enough courage, I think that's one of the biggest problems with marketing is people don't want to take the leaps.
Right.
They should. So whether that's financial or creative.
Yeah. So what do you think, like, let's give people a little background on you. You've been marketing for basically your entire life.
I wrote the first chapter of a book and I was like, oh, let me just start where I started marketing. But I've always been making things. And even that's just marketing, right? It's communication with like a platform. So I've been drawing, I've been writing, I've been like videoing since high school. Yeah. And then I entered the marketing field in 2004.
Right. And back then the marketing field wasn't really social media, wasn't really Google AdWords. Like
the first thing I did was a phone book.
Yeah.
Like that was the first thing I created in the industry was a phone book ad that went on the back of a phone book for a credit union. Don't remember the name of it.
Yeah. So you've kind of seen like the evolution of marketing for a long time and you've been involved in the whole process.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is cool. So you have a good perspective on that, I think.
And okay, to give context, like started out as a video producer, started at an agency, went freelanced for agencies, then went back into agency, and then bought the agency. But over the years, it went from video producer to like print producer and video producer, website designer, and radio production. All this stuff started stacking until like I just had all the skills of production, and then I got to dovetail all that in with, well, then how do you market? Like how do you push what I was making out? And then once you sort of figure out the loop, like it's like, okay, well, this is how communication happens. Right. You make and you push.
Yep. Yeah. So moral of the story is you've got a pretty good idea of what marketing is. Right?
Yep, sure. I think so.
Yeah.
I hope so at this point, right?
I think so. And I just want our listeners to know, like, okay, this guy's been in it for a long time. He's served a lot of people in the marketing field. He should know what he's talking about. Jared trusts him. I trust him. I'm sure Joel would trust him too.
I do.
I mean, Joel thinks I'm shifty, so
yeah.
Hey, just because you're shifty don't mean I don't trust you.
True. So I just want to I want to ask you some questions because I see people come into the plumbing business field, right? They're like, hey, I'm going to go start my own plumbing business. And marketing is one of the things that just stumps most people. They have a hard time understanding it. They have a hard time knowing how to use it, and they have a hard time knowing who to hire. And it's a big mess. Like, I get clients all the time, and they've got like this guy over here that's got control over their PPC, and this guy over here that owns their website, but they can't get it. And this guy over here that is doing this other thing, and none of them are really talking together. They're just doing one thing. And it's just a total mess. So let me ask you, what's the one thing that you see that stumps, like that, where they make a mistake in their marketing? Like, what's the biggest mistake they make?
The biggest mistake is like the one biggest mistake is they don't take a minute to realize that marketing is more than one thing. Right. Like, a lot of people will start on a path with marketing, get to the point where they're like, awesome, this works, and then never branch out. And then one day that path dries up, and guess what? Their business has to contract because they didn't put any other feelers out into the market in any other way, or they didn't nurture either their community or their existing customer base like forward. And so I find that a lot of people, especially if they're relatively new to business, end up becoming platform dependent.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
So, and then when that platform decides to change for whatever reason, they don't have anything else. And then they end up having to pivot really hard, really fast. And that's always hard and expensive. And so they end up freaking out with merit, right?
Yep.
Like I was talking to a guy a few days ago, like everything in his business came off of GLSA. But what I found is that with GLSA, it really depends on your market. So what happens if his market suddenly starts behaving like another market? His calls are going to go down. He's going to have to lay off his plumbers. He won't make as much money. His business will have to contract, and he'll have to rebuild in another zone.
Right.
And so I think it's important to have more than one thing popping at once.
Yeah. Kind of a more omnipresent approach, right?
Yeah. Yep. And I would love to see it. A lot of people don't even know that that's a choice, though. Like, it's just something you have to learn.
Yeah. So in that omnipresent approach, like into this day and age, what are the things that you would include in there? In what are we in March? We're in April 2023. April.
Yeah, right. Okay. So what's funny is I did a video just about this. When you start a business, like it's going to be you. And one of the first things you got to do is figure out how to get work. Right.
Yep.
So I was talking to a guy the other day who was just going out on his own. And so what I told him was get your name, obviously, get your website, get your Google business listing, and then get every single social platform that you can, even if you don't use it. So, the heavy hitters, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, like get them all. Even if you're like, I don't know if I'll ever use this, because you never know when they're going to evolve into something that you actually could utilize. And then you start, you get your website built so you have a presence, your Google business listing, your GLSA, if you're applicable for that. And then you have the ability to accept traffic. And that's one of the biggest first steps, is you have to get your foundation to a point where if you are running ads on anything, I don't care if it's the back of some kid's t-shirt on a soccer game, like you need to be able to be findable. And that's what all those are for. So then you start playing with it, and you start communicating, you start utilizing those platforms to push things out. And so for the person who's just starting, first thing I tell them is, okay, now start making content for Facebook, Instagram, your Google business listing, and just find a tool that cross posts, and don't overthink it, and make a post a day. You got time. You don't have any customers yet, right? You might have a few. So then you utilize the network you do have. You have friends, you have family. Ask them to share your posts across into their networks. You're slowly building up. Then start playing with the money side.
On that's how I got started. When the first time I started my business, because I started
Right.
it multiple times, the very first time I got on Facebook, I made some posts, and I started adding all of mom and dad's friends. So all my parents. I started just friending all of them. And then I started friending all of their friends and all of their friends and all of their friends and on and on and on and on. And then I would make a post to it was J Rod's Plumbing at the time. I would make a post to J Rod's Plumbing, and then I would go share it on my personal page. And I would write, hey guys, just started my business. If anybody needs plumbing done, I'm taking calls, call 907, whatever our number was at the time. And it worked. I got work.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
within 2 weeks, I was busy.
like people aren't realizing that they have a network. They just like they don't know how to activate it in these platforms at first, but it's just by simply being there and connecting with people that you know and reaching out, you're going to start building something. And it just may not be very fast, and there's ways to accelerate it, but that's the first thing you got to do. Like you got to get money in the door before you really play with other tools. So start there. And then you can utilize these platforms to start leveraging more eyeballs, right?
Yeah.
And so I honestly I keep going back and forth on how I would structure like somebody's startup. But one of the first things I do is the retargeting. Like so that way if anybody hits your website or interacts with your Facebook page for like just a few $100s a month, you can follow them around. And what we've found is anytime that we start that, contact goes up. We started recently with one client, like their contact forms suddenly shot up more. And it was just like we didn't have the ads ready until recently, and so then we got them out the door. But then you're building that omnipresence that you mentioned before,
right?
Because then you're following people around, and it doesn't matter what they're on. Like they could be on their computer, they could be on their television, they could be on their phone, and the phone's the big one. So
let's explain that real quick for the plumbing business owners that are out there. Like you say retargeting and follow them around. And I can tell you like 2 years ago, I didn't know what that meant. So explain that to me 2 years ago.
Okay. So whenever somebody interacts with your business, chances are there's a couple triggers that you can activate, and then you can put them into a bucket or a list, right? And you can do this on different platforms, but the most common is if they go to your website. And if they go to your website, you can like say, all right, put this person onto this list, and they are going to receive these ads over here for the next, and you can set it up to like 500 days, but like 30, 60, 90 is, somewhere in there is usually the most common. And for plumbers, it might only be a couple weeks because they're in need at that point, right? But you want to follow them around even after, so that way you're building that association with the prospect. But so then it becomes, okay, you put them in this bucket. On Facebook, it just becomes more Facebook posts, more reels, more stories that they see of you as an ad than other people, because they've had the trigger on their end, right? On Google, it could be YouTube, which I'm a big fan of, but also like Google Display. And so like the best example that I give people is if they go to Amazon, they search mattress, then suddenly they're going to see mattresses everywhere for just a little bit. You see, and from Amazon, right? That's the best example of retargeting. Like it's, and some people are like, oh, that's creepy. It maybe, but it's also the world we live in.
It works.
And that's the thing. These platforms are free because of those capabilities. So, but as a business owner, that's a lot of leverage. Like you suddenly you can hammer somebody, and way back when, like in traditional days, it was like radio. So then you need to show people, or they need to hear you 7 times before they'll take an action. I think with digital, it has to be closer to 3 to 4 times that amount. And so you end up like going, all right, we need 21 touch points. Use retargeting to get it, and it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg because you're not throwing it out into the wind necessarily. But this is like first baby steps. Eventually you do have to go out and like outreach to cold audience as well, which are people who've never heard of you before, or you're never going to grow your customer base, which means you never grow your business.
Right. Okay, let's backtrack a little bit. So you get all the social media platforms going, you make some posts, you share them on your personal page, you go friend all your mom's friends.
Yep.
Start getting some work. Where do we go from there?
Have your mom write a review. That's a big one.
Dad, brother, sisters.
If you're our mom, it's gonna end up hitting every post you post. She'll go ahead and like it and comment and share it.
What a good mom. Even now.
So now you need to start garnering reviews is something that should be automatic with every job, and that's because that's going to increase your visibility. And you have to start at the bottom and work your way up. And so you want to make sure that people have a mechanic for that. And most CRMs have that built in now. Right. And if you aren't using a CRM, you've got bigger problems. You need to get a CRM. You don't have a business without a CRM. You're just a freelancer.
Right. Yeah. Even if it's like, I would say ServiceTitan's probably the best CRM for plumbers, but if you're before that, like early in your business, then you can use Jobber. You can automate review requests. And then, even if you're later in your business and you have ServiceTitan Marketing Pro it's pretty expensive. I want to say it's like $900. Don't quote me on that. But it is well worth the $900.
And that's because it interacts with your CRM, so it can do things more reactively than like I can do from my end, right?
Yeah.
And so you just have to set up the triggers within it to be able to send out those communications. So if it's like this person had a inspection a year ago, well, they might need another one or some form of maintenance. As well as unsold estimates. That's the biggest one, right?
I pulled my top 3 email campaigns and made a little video for some of my clients. Those 3 campaigns, just automated campaigns, automated emails, brought in over $1 million in revenue last year.
See, I knew it was big, and I was doing a consult with somebody, and they knew of you, so they were hemming and hawing over whether or not to do Marketing Pro, and I was like, given the size of your business, you should. I would do that before you hire me, because there's a good chance that what you do there will pay for me, right?
Pretty much. It doesn't matter what size business you are. If you're a one truck chuck and you have ServiceTitan, the Marketing Pro will be worth it.
Absolutely. And and it's just that automated, just to get it out of your brain space. Anytime you turn it into manual labor, somebody isn't going to follow through eventually.
Yeah.
Right. And when you're looking at like 5, 6, 7, 8 email sequences deep, that's a lot of steps to keep in your head.
Yeah.
And navigate people through. So I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah. Just my thank you email that we send out for every customer when they pay an invoice. That brought in, I want to say it was $80,000 just by saying thank you.
Yeah. And that brings up another thing about marketing. There's the customer acquisition, right? But then there's your follow-up on the back end and the reactivation of those people into your current state of being. Yeah. And people don't realize that it has to happen on both ends. Like there's a pinch point in the middle called the sale, but marketing, you can market to people who you serviced 3 years ago really easily. You've got all their contact. And the people who have paid you before are the most likely to pay you again.
Yes. Yep. So where should we be collecting these reviews? Google. Facebook, Yelp?
Yeah. So Google is the powerhouse right now.
Yep.
Like it or hate it. And so do it with Google. And then you got your puppy over there. There you go.
Somebody's not doing their job at Jared's house. Somebody's fired.
Yep.
It's not me today, boys.
So Google's the best, because Google, those reviews are what's going to rank you in the map pack is a big section of it. And if you're running GLSA, those help you rank on GLSA. So the Google local service ads are what those are, which are huge for home services. Or they can be depending on your market, right? So, but collect them on Google. Some people are like, oh, I'll just put them all on Facebook. No, nobody goes to Facebook to find a plumber.
Nope.
Don't worry about that. Get it on Google, because that's where people go when they need a plumber. It's the modern day phone book.
And how big of a deal do you think it is? Like, I was talking with a guy this morning, and we were looking at him. He was like first in the map pack, but he was like, man, he has 3 locations. This location, he was first in the map pack when I searched him. And he wasn't getting any calls. And he had a 4.2 rating, and everybody else had 4.7 and higher.
How many reviews did he have?
He had 300 and some, but there was like 3 or 4 other people with more reviews at a higher rating.
Yep. I mean,
How do you think that affects call volume?
I do, because it's the credibility factor, right?
Mhm.
And this is where you get into sort of like the brand game, because with that, think of it the way you look at products on Amazon. You sort by star rating and star count and review count. It's the same thing when people don't know who they're going to hire for a service. Doesn't matter. Like, they just look at the list and they go, that guy. And they might look at the reviews, which is why you should respond to your reviews. But and then it's like they're going to choose. They might choose you, but they might not.
Right.
And so you have to think of ways to like get out ahead of that traffic. And that's where you get into like brand awareness and running ads to cold audiences within your demographic. So
yeah, I know when I'm looking for somebody on Google, I don't necessarily look for a 5-star review, but I will go in there and I'll look for 4.7 and higher.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, I go look at the reviews. I go look at the the highest reviews. And I go, okay, what are these guys doing right? And then I go look at the lowest reviews and I go, what are these guys doing wrong? And if the low reviews are about price, I don't care. Oh, these guys are so expensive. I could care less. But if there's like something in there, like they don't take care of their customers, or they never answer their phone, or they didn't show up, that's when I'm like, I'll move on to these next guys.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of customers are like that.
I think so too. What's funny is that actually is how I vet clients too, is I'll look at their reviews. Because I can't fix bad business. I can only drive customers, and people are always going to be disappointed if they don't have a way to close the deal. And so if they're struggling with that's like, they got to fix that first. But it's like, if I do that as a vendor, like, imagine what your customers are doing. They're going to do the same stuff.
Sure.
Look at it and weigh you. But that's also why I think it's really important that you respond, especially if you get a bad review, but respond to almost every review if you can.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be complex.
No.
Like, have a script and have your CSR do it and something, right?
Yeah.
But
and be nice. Don't be mean.
Yeah, be nice. And then if somebody is mad at you or frustrated, be like, oh man, I'm really sorry that you're frustrated. Here, give the office call. And you're moving that conversation offline. So, but everybody else sees it who's looking at your reviews. And that means that you care beyond the job. Yeah. And that's really important. I can't tell you how many times I see bad reviews and just nobody did anything. And I'm like, well, this looks like you just ignored the person, which is the worst kind of customer service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see guys. I see guys all the time in my coaching program. They get defensive. Responses. Like, hey, we came out to your house and we called you and we ripped this thing apart and we found that you were in there messing with it or whatever. And I'm like, God, this is not doing it good. Like, think about the way you're responding. Like, another customer is going to see this. You want to win over the customer that's going to see this bad review. You got to respond in a really nice manner that makes you the bigger person, that makes you sound like you care about the customer.
Yes, you have to put aside your ego.
Yeah, 100%.
And that it's difficult for some people and not for others. But truly, if you want to do good business and build a big business, you have to appeal to the masses, and the masses don't like ego.
No.
And so, you know what, we're talking about the way you respond to reviews, but it's all marketing, it's all communication, right?
Yeah.
What I think is funny is the most egregious example of like getting defensive is a friend of my mother's who ran a bed and breakfast, and I saw her reviews and I was like, oh my God, I didn't know this lady had it in her. I was like, oh geez, she is so sweet my entire life, but oh no, this is not the way you do this.
Yeah. Yep. So I have a theory, throwing us off our game here, but I have a theory. Like, and I'm going to ask you a question to see if I'm correct.
Okay.
Like, what is marketing at its core? Like what, just if you could explain it as simply as possible, what is it?
Relationship building.
In a sense of how?
You are having to project your personality and project the personality of the business, right? And I think that most businesses are a reflection of their owner. The things that you care about, your values, become the lifeblood of your business,
right?
And so what you have to do, if you, a business is like any other personality-based thing, some people are going to jive with you, some people aren't. And so you have to push your personality out into the marketplace to say, hey, know, like, and trust me. And that is no different than like the first time I met Joel and I smiled at him. Probably, I'm not sure, right?
Probably.
And that's why Joel has never been to my house.
But it wasn't a good smile. It was a weird, toothy looking smile. It was awkward.
No, I mean, I do. I think it's relationship building. I think you have to build your relationship with your prospects, and it doesn't happen immediately. It takes time, and a lot of people don't realize that like the time and consistency of that build momentum. Like think of it as like a courtship at the beginning of a like marriage relationship, right? So it's like you have to date these people for a while before they decide, yeah, I think I like these guys.
Yeah. So I've kind of always viewed marketing as going out into the marketplace and just saying, educating the public on, hey, this is who we are and this is what we do. And this is like, these are the unique things about us, why you should hire us. And so I've always viewed marketing a little different, right? So like even when AdWords, maybe we didn't get the best rate and I was willing to spend more because I knew that people were going to just see my name and I knew that it was going to stick in there, right? And I was willing to go on social media and put lots of money into social media and lots of time into social media and put out more content than everybody else. And it paid off in the long run. Just being able to go out and do these things where maybe I couldn't measure an ROI, but I knew people were being educated on who we were, that we exist, how, and what we stand for.
I think that you understood that the investment wasn't necessarily tied straight to dollars. You were building brain space and association and building that relationship that know, like, and trust. And that's where I think, like, now I see your vans, I see like, and I talk to people in town and it's like everybody knows who you are. And a lot of people in town come to me and go like, what did you guys do? We invested in building the relationship. And it takes time. As marketing, it rarely is it a faucet that you turn on and off.
Right.
Like you have to give it time to really reach maturity. And that's sometimes hard and scary when you're starting out. But if you do, you actually build a strong business.
Yeah. I was talking with a guy the other day and I told him, it was after I kind of was thinking about marketing. I told him, my number one business secret, if I could tell you like my secret, it would be never stop marketing and do as much of it as possible. And as long as you have a decent back end business, it doesn't even have to be the best business, right? Well, that will carry you.
So I say this a lot, where the person who's willing to shout loudest into the void wins. And that's just because they're actually shouting. It's kind of like vocal minority, right? It's like, I'm just going to be loud in the place that I am. So that way, no matter what, people know I'm here. Because that's what you want. You want associations built in people's brain space so they can't ignore you. And what I find, a lot of business owners are afraid to do that. And they don't quantify the value of building that association over the long period.
Yeah, they're way too worried about what's my return on investment on this? Like, how much am I paying to acquire a customer and all that jazz?
those things have merit, but they can't be. They are not the full picture. I don't care what you were doing with marketing. There's like this gray zone where you just your attribution is going to be wonky. You measure your best, use that data to make decisions, but don't ignore the fact that people are people and people are squishy and unpredictable.
Yeah. And you can't track everything.
No.
You cannot track it exactly, right?
I was in the grocery store the other day and I saw like the Simply Organic. They had a banner up. And I was like, I wonder if anybody asked them, what's the ROI on this banner?
Uh-huh.
Like, how are you going to know? There's thousands of people just looking at it every day. But the big companies are willing to do it because they know that there's something there for that.
Yeah.
That said, like when you're starting out, you should concentrate on some lead generation to make things get revenue in the door. But eventually, you got to mature, and that maturation is key into just like saying, okay, we're going to do this because we think people will see us.
Yeah. I think those big companies are big companies because they were willing to go do that. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made it there.
Think of like the community things that you've done. Like you just did a home show, right? Which is just a booth at a big build, like new construction event.
Yep.
And you're not even interested in new construction.
No.
But you want all those homeowners to know who to call when their house is built.
Yeah.
And so that return, even if you like take down numbers and get people in for a giveaway, they're not doing it for a job. They're doing it for like a giveaway. If you use that, and I think you should, but like you're not going to see the true return hit your bank account for like 6 months to a year to 2 years.
I'll never know.
Yeah, and that's
but I know that it's worth it. I can get my brand, my people. I can talk to people, get in front of thousands of people. You know, it probably cost me $5,000 to put on that home show, to go there, get the booth, get all the stuff in there, do all the giveaways. To pay the people to be there probably cost me 10 or 15. But I know that it's 100% worth it.
Yeah.
That if I continually am willing to do those kinds of things, that's what's going to keep me on top of the market and not let somebody else come scoop in there.
Those are also the unsung opportunities. I think that people don't pay enough attention to where can I invest my marketing in my community, which helps your community, and that's good. But it also puts your brand in front of people. And the bigger you can make a splash on things like that, the better.
Yeah.
Did you bring a van in again?
Yeah. Yeah. We bring a van in, we open the side door and we mount a TV there, and then we play reviews on the TV. So it's just a constant slide of 5-star Google reviews over and over again. We bring in some equipment, boilers and water softeners, and we have giveaways. And
I was going to see if you did giveaways.
3 or 4 guys there to answer any questions, talk to the customers.
So last year when I went to that, it was fun watching your guys interact with the community. There was like Andrew was talking to some lady, and she was just smitten with him. It was hilarious.
Costin, clip that.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's true, because all my guys, they're really good at talking to customers. So why not bring them in? Like I know I see a lot of like business owners at these events, or just like the manager and the business owner will be there. And I'm like, man, that, like, first of all, if you own a business, you should be spending your time doing other things. Because you can totally just have your staff go in there and run that whole event. And so why wouldn't you? And then second of all, I think it's really cool for the community to come in and talk to your staff members, your technicians, your CSRs, because those are the people that they're going to interact with.
That's who they show up at their door. Yeah.
Exactly. So if they can see like, oh, these are the guys I'm going to interact with. These are the people that answer the phone, and they're friendly and they're real people and they're nice and they're knowledgeable and they're willing to communicate with me. That goes a long ways.
It does. And it's cool to see. I don't know. I watched those guys. They did a really good job when I saw them, by the way, just to let you know. But they just, they were warm and friendly. And that is such a strong impression. That is way beyond anything an ad can do. Right.
Yeah.
Because it's that human interaction. And anytime you can manufacture that, which is hard over something like Google Ads, right? All you're doing is getting a phone call.
Yeah.
But those people are going to call you first, especially that one lady who was smitten with Andrew.
Yep. Okay, so if you could leave our audience with one piece of advice, what would it be? You got 10 seconds.
The best thing you can do is understand that marketing needs to happen at the beginning of your business and not in the middle. So you need to build out a system for being able to invest in marketing early, so you get used to it psychologically, and it's part of your operations and not part of your profit line. So you are consistent with it. That will help you build an actual business instead of just a lifestyle business or keeping you as a fancy freelancer.
Right on. Okay. You heard it, everybody. Market early, market consistently, keep it going, and never stop.
Yep. That sounds good.
Cool. Thanks for coming on, Tyler.
No problem.
Thanks, Tyler. Thanks, Jared.
Hey guys, if you liked that episode and you want to see more content like that, I picked out a special episode just for you. All you got to do is click right here. Go ahead and do it. Just click right there.